All right, there we go.
We're good?
Good morning, Sean. Happy Friday.
Hey, it's Facebook Friday, one of my favorite times of the week. As you know, this is something I so look forward to. And I get to spend a little time with my business partner, my business wife, Jae Woo. So great to see you. It's always that shiny, vibrant smile. And that's after you and I were on a city meeting, government meeting, neighborhood council for, I don't know, it was like 4 hours last night with my ears bleeding, listening to some of the issues that we have to navigate. But I appreciate you being here and always hosting this. It's just always a good time of my life. I enjoy this time.
11 minutes shy of 4 hours last night. So that was a chunk of time.
Well, it's interesting too. Yeah, it is. Well, not only to sit still, but to stay focused in a screen, like in cyber world, like here, present. And then on top of that, we had, you have these subjects, some of them that have really significant consequences for the citizenry of Los Angeles. So you have to be present, you have to pay attention, and it's hard. And then there are people that just want to pontificate. So you just are like, oh, I'm tired of listening to you. But having said that, I actually want to mention that because this podcast, this Facebook Live is brought to you by Heyler Realty. This is our outreach. This is a byproduct of all of our efforts to successfully help people transact purchases and sales of their real estate. And in doing so, affords us the time to do community-oriented type of podcasts or outreach messages. So today's is brought to us, I think, by Kate Kennedy, who's on absolute fire. The woman's like, listed, sold, listed, sold. I'm like, go, Kate, go. Anyway, so that's the Heyler pitch. And then, Jay, we have a very special guest today.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, in all true disclosure, this is my brother-in-law, Gunnar Peterson. It has been a tremendous blessing in my life to have him be connected through our wives. Our wives are sisters, Jill and Jessica, who I'd arguably say are the favorites, but that's off record. Maybe Karen, if you're there, you're a favorite too. I know that for a fact. But having said that, these are two beautiful women that have brought us together in our lives, and then somehow in their sisterhood brought it together, which I consider like a brotherhood marriage.
Brotherhood.
It's beyond that in the one sense. I'm like, hey, and we just Gunnar will say this as well, I think. If it's us or them, Gunnar and I are like, okay, it's us. Let's go. And
you call it a bromance, right? Isn't that what's called a bromance?
I think so. He might have a different
My husband and brother-in-law have the same relationship. If the sisters are falling apart, they're still going to stay together.
Yeah, no, it's like, well, we're in it together. It's like a little bit of a war zone. But I have to say, what I've watched happen in his marriage with Jessica, and what I've seen her transform and her growth into the woman that she is today, and I see the things that she brings in love and support for him are also inspirational in my own marriage. It is always this idea of what marriage is, which is arguably one of the most selfless acts. Like, it's this idea of I'm always putting someone else forward, their interests, whatever they may be, and we do this thing together. And I've learned from Jessica and Gunnar, quite honestly, a tremendous amount how to communicate. Because as you meet my brother here in a minute, he's incredibly witty, smart man, well-educated, in fact, a graduate of Duke University. He's fluent in several languages. He's lived around the world. And quite honestly, other than Jack LaLanne, he's the king of the mountain when it comes to fitness. He is the top dog. Mm-hmm. He is currently a strength coach with the Lakers, amongst many other things. But mostly importantly, he's family, and I'm grateful, and I'm happy to bring him on. Oh,
great!
And I want to ask him if we can tell our audience where he is right now.
I know. Well, there he is. He's coming in from 8,800 miles away. He said, right? So he was very precise about the mileage. Hey, welcome, Gunnar.
Hey guys, how are you?
Well, wait, that's good evening. Well, thank you.
Wrong talk right there.
Can we tell the audience where you are today? Is that top secret?
Yeah, no, you can tell them.
So he is in a city called Doha, and Doha is in the country, the sovereignty of Qatar. Is that right, G?
Correct. Just getting some work done,
It's always a grind. Well, that's the thing that you do, and that you lead by example, and that we see all the time. The people in my life that I feel blessed to have, and they're people with tremendous work ethics, and you have that, so much so that you're committed to making this kind of journey across the world, and to train under conditions that are probably pretty exceptional. I did note that you sent me a little clip of your weather over there. So I hope you're wearing your sunblock.
I am definitely wearing sunblock, and I'm fully covered. I'm only short sleeve when I'm indoors. Yeah, it's great though. New experiences, we stretch ourselves, we grow that way, and you lock in. And it's funny, we travel so much with the NBA that I have very specific routines and rituals. So once I'm in, it's kind of a form of nesting. I don't really unpack, but I'm definitely set up in terms of how I execute every little thing so it's as close to home as possible. And of course, I have my little picture of Sean McMillan next to the bed.
Your Shawnee Bear. Well,
wow,
I mean,
TMI. Okay.
Oh no, it's a lot of love there. It's interesting too, because Gunnar, you should know that my partner Jae is an absolute fitness fanatic. It's one of the things she really prides herself about, but not even in that way. She's strong. She's kind of freakishly strong. I think they say the Korean people culturally are either kind of soft or really steel, and she is all steel and iron. And she loves fitness. And so she's always told me, like, hey, I can't wait for a chance to train with Gunnar Peterson. I said, the thing with training with G is this: when you train with him, you almost don't know what's happening until the next day. And that's part of what's really fun is to watch your genius unfold. And clearly that's where you are right now, working on your craft and sharing it with some significant people out there. So
we got to get you in the gym, Jay. Just keep it moving. And like Sean says, it's not about over analysis. I mean, the workout's prepped, it's written ahead of time. Obviously you reserve the right to pivot off of anything that's not working in the moment. And by the time you're done, you kind of go, wait, what did I just do? And your head may not know, but your body definitely will.
That's awesome.
Well, G, you go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, the fun fact is I haven't missed a workout since December 27th. So I've literally worked out every single day since December 27th leading up into this pandemic. And so I'm feeling better than I have in my entire life at 50. And I mean, I'm lifting some pretty heavy stuff. So
well, and like you, Gunnar, she doesn't eat a carb. So there's no bread. There's no, I mean, she might have cheese. I think that's her sliding point, where you might have peanut butter. She has cheese.
Jay, remember, Jay, on the 7th day, he rested.
Yes.
Just going to throw that out there. I think the rest days find you. And I think I have no problem people doing something every day. I know I do. Some are fire and brimstone, some are less than, but either way, whoa. That guy's just obnoxious.
Yeah, whoa. It shuddered my ears.
No, I'm sorry.
That's all good.
As long as you're getting something done, you're moving the blood, you break a sweat, you got to keep the machine well oiled.
Well, you work in that space, you work in that idea, and we always talk about the idea of there's kind of a mind, body, spirit coordination, and you really have a mastery of that discipline. And to your point, it's something that you and I both know that we just do it on a daily because it just is part of our biorhythm and our daily disciplines. But relative to like how the pandemic has impacted, has that had any impact on how you proceed and how you move forward in training and guiding players, or even just professionally, how you have to treat things differently?
Well, I mean, I think, the rules of the virus have been shifting from day one. So we do spray things down. We were always pretty diligent about wiping things down in my facility and at the Lakers as well. And I think that got ramped up a bit. Some of it because we thought we were doing the right thing, others because it puts people's minds at ease. It comes down to wash your hands, don't lick doorknobs, just be smart. Hopefully nobody gets it, but if you do, you do, and you hopefully ride it out. But we can't live in fear. We can't let it paralyze us. And even if you're stuck at home, there's a lot you can do to keep yourself healthy for sure.
Well, I think that brings us to another point too. So some of our viewership might be interested. If you had to give people like, hey, just basic, get up and get the blood moving. Are there some parts of the body or exercises or daily disciplines that you would personally recommend just to make habit habitual?
I think if you look at what your goals are, is it body part specific? You should probably pull away from that. Is it body composition? Is it improved performance in sport? Or is it just making whatever you do in your day-to-day life easier? and then set the movements up like that. And it's worth taking, 5-6 minutes the night before, even if you send yourself a note, even if you dictate the note, it's not that hard to plan out how you're going to execute when you do get to the gym. You find that you can get a lot more done with your time than most people think. So think big body movements, think all 3 planes of motion. Our eyes are on the front of our head. We have a tendency to work forward to back. If you pull back and think about your last 2 workouts, there's a solid chance that a lot of them were done in sagittal plane. So you want to think about moving side to side and think about moving in a rotating way. I mean, everything from lifting a kid up and putting him in the car to taking something off of a shelf, you usually take it down and up. So there's a lot of rotation in life, even reaching and getting your seatbelt, that's a rotating movement. So transverse plane is important to train in, add load to it in the gym. And then when you're not loaded in real life, you're going to come out ahead of this.
That is just that's a pearl of wisdom, G. And I really appreciate that, because as you said that, I go, okay, so I just did an hour 30 of cardio in the sagittal plane. I just going like this, right? So if I have to step to the side, I might just crumple. If I'm going forward, I'm going to be good.
But look at this. Another thing to add, just to mix that in, is sagittal plane going forward. Think about, you can go sagittal plane going backwards, and a lot of people don't even mix it up. If you're doing an elliptical, those things are made to go forward and back. You look at people, you go, so you never do it backwards? Why is that? You walk forward and you do your elliptical forward? Is that just, I get it. It's very that's a positive thing from a mental standpoint. I'm always moving forward. I got that, the rah-rah part of it. But just think about how your body works. If you ever have to work backwards, in sports, that's key. But even in real life, sometimes you take 1 or 2 steps backwards, and that's when people go, I felt something in my Achilles or my ankle, or I hyperextended my knee. Those are all ways to train, not that you can avoid it, but you can definitely reduce the chances of any injury. And that's really what it's all about, never being sidelined like Jay, so you can work out for 9,322 days in a row. That's, yeah.
But you got to mix it up. It is the mixing up of the muscle confusion for me and strength training, because most women are scared to lift weights. They don't want to get big, but the opposite is true. Like, the heavier you can lift, and then mix it with everything. My belief is that the strength keeps the fountain of youth. So,
well, I think
you got to lift weights. You have to lift weights to maintain connective tissue strength, to maintain lean tissue, so that your body's burning calories at a higher rate. I mean, those are basic. That's the people who are afraid of weights to get big. Getting big is a lifestyle. Good luck with that.
Well, I'm well suited for getting big, because I like to eat obsessively, and I'll transition for half a minute. One of the many things that I admire about you is your extraordinary discipline about food and the importance of it. And what's your mentality when it comes to food, G? I mean, we live with, as you know, I live with a really qualified chef, and she's been teaching your sister, and they've been working side by side on really providing great meals as we get to socialize and enjoy each other's company. But I have no discipline. But I look at you and I go, God, he's just on this thing. But is it just that you just put it in a box, or how do you view food?
There are 2 things about it. One, I was a fat kid, and I'm terrified to go back there. That haunts me to this day. The second part of it is, if I look at food as fuel, right? Is this going to put me in a position to be able to do what I have to do today? And if it's not, I should probably avoid it. The other part is, if I want it, I'm going to eat it, and then I'm going to move on and go back to what I should eat. But as far as the discipline goes, I think where we part ways is that I don't have it around me. It's not that I have the discipline. It's that I don't keep the stuff that I shouldn't eat in close proximity. And I'll never go out and pick up something, and I'll never order in. And I'm too tech challenged to know how to do that on my phone. So literally, I look in the fridge, and whatever's there is what's going to happen. So if the bad stuff isn't there, then I'm not at risk.
Well, I'll mention something about that, G, because you bring up a huge point, and that's what I believe in, is the power of proximity. When you're in an atmosphere and an environment, that jelly donut is ultimately going to overpower my willpower. It's just going to constantly call at me. But if it's not there, it can't do it, right? And I guess that's what you're saying to a degree.
Correct.
Well, environment is stronger than willpower.
Yeah, I think so.
my wife's a great cook, but she's not on Sean's wife's level, and we just don't keep that stuff in the house. And there is a little pantry. It's the little carb closet, I call it, but it's, I don't even go in there. And that's where the dog food is. So unfortunately, if they're home and it's my turn, I look at them like, sorry, fellas, you're gonna have to wait.
Well,
if I go in there, it's gonna end bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's that actually needs a little bit of qualification, because Gunnar, you are a true family man of the things that you value in your life. Your wife and your children, all 5 of them are just blessings, and you really are always connected to it. But you also have this tremendous extended family between your parents, your brother, and family and in-laws, and then friends that you keep. But one of your greatest sets of friends are your dogs, and I mentioned that just because you mentioned them. Gunnar has a series of dogs, and you have a particular preference for a breed, and you actually have the largest dog I've ever seen in my life.
My wife has a little thing, and she calls it a dog, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, you're not tall enough for this ride. But and that's a Morkie, I think, is what I don't mean. It's a squirrel, as far as I'm concerned. Domesticated squirrel.
Yes.
We have an English bulldog who's courting obesity at about 85 pounds. I think breed standard is 55 to 60. We have an English Mastiff who's 250, and we have a Bull Mastiff who's 160. So there's a lot of canine in that house.
There's a ton of it. It's kind of cool though, when we first became friends and got to know each other, you had some other dogs, and they've since passed and moved to doggy heaven. And you replace dogs, you bring them right back into your life, and the importance of it. And I remember being intimidated by that. And there was just the way in watching you, and I think this is how you approach life. And that's why I'm mentioning this, because I want the audience to hear there's a certain ferocity or directness in which you approach things, which is why you've ascended to the heights of what you do. And with those dogs, they were always testing for quite a while who was the alpha. And I've watched you multiple times lay down the alpha. And that's part of what I love about you, because you and I like to try to lay down the alpha, and we keep it going a little bit. It keeps me vibrant. You keep me competitive amongst myself. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to bring it in. I don't know that I replace the dogs, but I definitely, when one moves on, I definitely like to have another one in there as soon as possible. I don't think, some people say, oh, it's disrespectful to the memory of the one, and I disagree. I think that memory, those others are honored in telling stories and seeing pictures, and this is just adding more, and it's it's more panels in the quilt of the life we're making. And my older kids can reference dogs from way back in the day, and I'm just going to keep it that way.
Your dogs actually end up almost like a legendary status. Like there's a Hall of Fame with those dogs. Yeah. In fact, I know that you keep a very specific trophy for these animals, and it's fun to display.
I do that. What Sean's referring to is because I don't breed dogs, we neuter them, and I have their testicles in the jar from the vet in my office, and I have them going back. I bet to the point where a client actually just gave me her dogs, which I'm like, it's a kind of weird addition to the group, but I'll take it. I think I must have 10 pair of them in there, and it's a great conversation piece. Let's just say that.
Well, it's not only that; it's to the point, right? Because there's the memory, there's the specific, and it's kind of saying, hey, each one of these guys, because you really have only had male dogs, if from what I gather, and it's kind of like, okay. Yeah, it's a nice piece of memory there. And you do that too in your own home. There's a lot of collection of memorabilia and things, but really in your gym, which I would argue is probably the most complete gym on the planet. You just
complete's a synonym for crowded, but we'll take it.
Well, yes, it is. Well, it's fair, but you know how to work in each one of those spaces, which is the magic. But you have a lot of great things and a lot of great clientele. And I think that's part of what adds to your point, the story, the human connection, the idea of being able to relate to one another and to crossing over age and generation and different experiences and wisdoms. And we really just appreciate you being here and sharing some of that wisdom with us this morning or evening in your time.
Yeah, you're awful quiet. Did we lose you at the dog wall?
No, my computer literally froze, right? So you can hear me, but you can't see me moving. And the challenging part with technology, of course, is when glitches happen. Because if I do anything to my computer, I'm going to disconnect from all this. So the only way I can do it is stay frozen and just talk and see you guys. But that's about it. You guys can't see me because I'm sitting here frozen in my laughing state, I guess, is what's happened. But oh well, every show there's something interesting that comes up, you know. But
Hey,
I guess yes.
I was just going to ask Gunnar, are we T-minus 5 more weeks before we got to hang out again?
We'll see. I don't know. You know, you never know how things go out here. We'll see if I
Okay.
get down there to that Orlando bubble. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, Gunnar, how do you stay so positive and healthy during these days?
It's a mindset. Wait, is there a choice? I mean, I don't have to be.
Yeah.
I just looked up. There's no choice.
Right.
They're a lot hotter hells than mine, you know, and without delving into it, than most people I know, everybody's struggling with whatever they're struggling with, no question. But you know, take a second, look around at the stuff you do have. What do you tell kids? You're happy for what you get, not upset for what you don't. You get what you get. You're not. You get what you get. You don't get upset, and that's how you look at it. And if you want more, go out and get it. Find a way to get it. Whether that's material things, time, you know, lean mass, whatever you're trying to get more of, go get it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have to say, I mean, Sean's told me all the time we're very similar in how we think, and only way I trust to get to where I am in life is because of the passion for making an impact and constantly improving on my knowledge, the care for the people that I want to take care of and dote my love on, and then constantly, you know, collaborating and being a team player, and you know, teamwork makes the dream work, and constantly looking to collaborate with others, whether it's our clients or, you know, because we both are in service industries. And I think that listening to you, Gunnar, I mean, you have that same mindset of care and passion and drive to provide that client experience. And that's why you have the longevity in your business, just like Sean and I put that same passion and drive and collaboration and care into every person we help. And I think that that is everything in not just, it's not a job, it's a life. And so that's what I admire when I listen to you and watch you on your Instagram and the stories that you do, and you can see it carry through everything that you impact is because of that deep drive and passion that you have, and also to never want to go backwards, constantly going forward.
Unless we're training. And we're going to do some backwards and some sideways and some twists.
Like the way that we actually move in real life.
Right.
You can thank that Viking heritage of yours.
Yep.
Well, hey, G, I really appreciate being able to connect with you here and spending a little time with us. Thank you very kindly. And I love you very much and miss you and look forward to spending more time with you.
Thank you guys.
Maybe me being frozen is like purposeful because I can talk to you guys. I just can't, you guys can't see me interact.
Did you see that, Gunnar? Show us, we're about to have dinner with you.
I said, thanks for joining me for dinner.
Dinner of champions. All right, G. Be well. We'll talk soon, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, tear up today.
Thanks.
All right.
So
Jay.
He's gonna have to disconnect because I can't remove him because all of my buttons are frozen. Generally, wild. I can't press anything on the thing. So I think the only way I'm gonna have to do is to restart my computer. I think
you could click leave the meeting. Is that what I'm telling him?
He did.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, I was just texting him there for a quick second just to reach out and thank you for that. And well, now, I mean, I don't mind talking to you because we talk on the phone. I just like to see your pretty face and be able to see your smile and expression.
I just can't believe I missed the whole freaking show. I am going to reboot though and see what happens because I even try to come in through my iPad, but I cannot admit me. I should have made you co-host. I should have made you co-host if I'd known, because I would have. So if I restart, we might get disconnected. Just letting you know that.
Oh no! Listen, I will start and stop with you 10,000 times. If that's the journey we're on, that's our partnership. So if you want to do that now, I'll sit here and look pretty or wait for you to cue me back in, whatever you need, you tell me. And it sounds like you may be gone. So I'll still talk on Facebook Live. It's Sean, the Sean Waiting for Jae show. I actually say that in tongue in cheek because it's usually Jae waiting for Sean because she is just so dependable and consistent. But having said that, I also do want to say an extra special message of gratitude for Gunnar Peterson spending some time with us and giving us some thoughts about how to keep fit and some of the concepts that he works in relative to how we move and our body mechanics work and the daily disciplines of things. I will say this, the things that I've learned from him is that, and then, well, I'm still live on this thing. So do I have to leave? I mean, I could keep talking. I'd love it if I could see somebody's questions though, but I'm not the host, so I can't do that. All right. Well, I guess what I was about to, now it's telling me to end. Tell me my weekend plans, Yvonne. I'll do that. Thank you. That was a nice text. That's a good layup. I appreciate that. Well, my plans this weekend, interestingly enough, the real estate industry and the market is absolutely, I mean, it's kind of super counterintuitively busy. I'm going to be in, oh, it looks like here comes Jae. Yes. Yeah, there you go. I was starting to drown a little bit without you, girl.
No, so I guess I could have done that the whole time, is to log out and log in on my computer. I didn't know if it would disconnect you or not.
Well, that I would jump right back in as you'd asked, but okay, cool. You're back in, and that's what matters. No, Yvonne was so kind enough to say, hey, start talking about what you're going to do. And just as I started to gurgle and drown without you, which is really in real life. It's not only metaphorically, it's in real life.
I just can't believe that. I mean, I was like, I had this whole conversation and I just, oh well.
Well, sometimes things happen for the reasons that they do. And he's cool enough. And I'm sure he would always come back and spend some time with us if we want, and, explore a little further some of the things. And that's what I was actually just talking about a little bit before I was going to get into the weekend plans, where, someone like that who performs at the highest level of fitness talks about just those disciplines, those kind of non-negotiables, and then the power of controlling your environment and how important that is. I mean, we have some viewers, and I think as a family that I know, and she does some staging for us at Grandview Staging. So occasionally Nancy Yardos, and she's like a mind-blowing bread baker, like mind-blowing. I am so glad she doesn't live in my house because I'd be 500 pounds. There's just no way I could resist that bread because of the power of the environment. Then it was kind of nice to hear that. And I need to hear that too from him because my wife is such a great cook and puts so much food out there. That's her expression of love in the family. And clearly I'm a recipient of that love and probably take more than my fair share. But I was just going to start talking a little bit about the marketplace, Jae, because both you and I are literally, it feels like an all-day sprint every day.
Yeah.
From the time we start in the morning, I really have to have the discipline to go through my routine so that I don't get full of the anxieties of how much I have to handle every day. And I know that's true for you. We share on our team email a lot of communication so we can see what's happening. And every single day, I see multiple appointments you're setting for multiple buyers in multiple marketplaces over and over and over. And I think it's important to note, you keep bringing these buyers to the possibility. They just haven't kind of kicked to the other side of the experience yet to understand, hey, this is when you need to really step forward. This is where fortune favors the brave. If you're going to make a move over time, this is probably one of the best times you can really do that, because all the other indicators we see, irrespective of the civil economic unrest type stuff, it just seems like the long-term cheap money's here. And it is so hyper competitive. The one little project I'm working on in the Northeast Valley part of LA, I can't even, I'm there all day. I was there all day yesterday, and I'll be there all day there again in 110 degrees, which I'm not really looking forward to. But I've already received multiple offers, even though I told everybody, don't send them to me till next Wednesday. Still, they just keep submitting offers. And we were able to negotiate and put together an acceptance on our luxury condominium. And I think a lot of that was done by some of our social media campaign that created the awareness out there.
It surely is not a lack of effort that's creating the opportunities.
Well, you know, even in that lesson from just talking to Gunnar right now, you hear like how he prepares every single day. It's his layout of his clothing. It's the layout of the training. It's the layout. It's the plan. It's the food, just like you. Oh, it's you. You're like a female Gunnar Peterson. That's the whole point. You know, you just have these like, this is what I do and I get it done and I won't stop till it's done. And true to form at 10.00, boom, he's on with you, just like you always are. So that's why I think that I get along so well with him, is because I've been conditioned by you.
Well, you know what? You've got to appreciate people who, like clockwork, they're there, they're reliable, they show up, they do what they say they're going to do. Those are the kinds of things that are absolutely commendable that I look for in human beings. I feel security in that, because I am that person. And I think that, you know, when you grew up in childhood with, you know, as he said, he never wants to go backwards. He doesn't want to feel overweight and not have that. And it's true to constantly think forward of, I'm not going back there. I mean, the only time I've really been, you know, heavy is, you know, pregnant with both of the kids, but I was always super skinny as a kid, just from the metabolism thing. But it was only until after I had the kids that I had to deal with, you know, trying to keep the weight off and everything else, and train harder than I ever have in my entire life. But there's a sense of fulfillment in the fact that, gosh, if I set my mind to it, I can do it. Is it easy? No. But is it worth it? Yes. And it's a matter of doing those things that is just so hard and so gritty, which is what, I mean, our jobs are very rewarding, but there's so much grind work to get to providing that this is amazing experience for the people we care about, the people we're entrusted to help. And it's to do all of the grunt work step by step by step. And before you know it, that 1 hour boot camp is over, right? That 30-day escrow is over, but it's all the little details along the way that has to be cared for and protected and unearthed to make sure that the process is great. And then you know, at the end of it, it's like, oh my God, it's done. Hooray. This is awesome. This was an amazing experience. It's only because we do all of that.
Well, I think that's an important point, is that we spent obviously a long time polishing our craft and really working on our skill sets and learning to navigate. And even now we're having to adapt to a lot of real changes, logistic changes that are taking place, how the businesses can even be done, actually how we function in society, period. And so those disciplines and that structure of organization have led us to the success that we have. But beyond that, I think it's also the mental outlook. Like, how do we, because we take on so much workload, not only professionally, but civically, and then add to that family, because we try to be all things for all people all the time. It's how we have to frame ourselves every morning, how we energize our mindsets, how we restore ourselves through food, through exercise, through prayer or meditation or proper reading, journaling, and whatever the different disciplines there are that enable us to become the higher versions of ourselves. You know, I realized in the last few weeks through this pandemic and navigating some of the doldrums, right? So there's times that we're busy, but not necessarily productive. And it's a very different thing, right? We've got a lot of stuff to do. Well, where's the progress? You know, so much so that I go home and just clean out a closet because it makes me feel good. Okay, I see progress in a closet, right? But what I realize, it's the groundwork that is helping unravel a lot of the inner dialogue people have, and giving them some guidance. Like, look, if you employ these techniques, these are proven ways of being able to make progress and to tackle things. You know, it's the longest journey begins with the first step, or a job just begun is a job half done. It's the mindset of moving things forward. And it's great when you have a partnership and you're working in kind of the amoebic space of real estate time. Real estate time is really unique. I'll describe that for a half second. You know, we have to coordinate multiple different parties in every transaction. You know, we oversee transactional details that are, I mean, I don't know how many industries we're involved with at any given time, 14 of them on 14. Average. 14. And transactional details, I mean, our contracts are 50 paragraphs long, and that's just the first baseline contract. There's a lot of legal responsibility. There's a lot of handholding, a lot of navigation. And in doing that, we really have to have a frame where we're able to help everyone perform at their higher levels. And that's our mastery in communication. So a lot of what we do, and our audience should know, is almost therapeutic. Like, we work through the process of what's most important to you. We want you to know, and we're kind of sharing that when we coordinate in this real estate time, we have the other realtor, we have a seller or a buyer that we're navigating over there. We have, so their schedules, we have our own client, we have our own schedules that we're managing. So those things we have to coordinate for just to get to the baseline. And then we have other of those industry professionals that come in, and everybody has personal demands. So there's professional demand, and then there is just real matter-of-fact life. And matter-of-fact life these days, depending on your filter, can be a little overwhelming and very stressful. And so one of the things that I've really taken to is how I start my day and how I end my day. I will now only frame my day with some form of really relaxing, deep music. Sometimes I do some holo syncing or hemi syncing, or I work on the new Calm app. It's a fantastic one for just calming the thought process down, throws you into a deep REM sleep that is restorative. And then I try to wake up in this very synchronized rhythm of daily disciplines that make the world around me a better place. And that's basically my home life. If I can take care of my wife and my children and give them a baseline, and my dogs of goodness, they start their day off positively, and allows me to go take care of me, and do the things I need to do through, which I do a combination of prayer, meditation, and exercise. That's just, and that's every single day. It's a non-negotiable. And I'm not saying that for anything other than it gives me a great deal of peace in my heart. And then the obligation, as I told my children, and I try to teach them, is when you have peace in your heart, or privilege, let's call it that too, because there's a lot of security that we have in our privilege, in our economic privileges and our societal privileges. The real currency of that is you have to spend that on others. There's just so much ice cream I can eat before it's gluttonous. Oh, it's pleasurable, but it'll never fill me. But when I share, and I'm able to share the piece of my heart, my mind, my discipline, and my business with other people, then theoretically, maybe I move the energy forward. And I know you do that, Jay. I know our agents do that. I think that we have really compiled some people that are very thoughtful and caring. And it's interesting because in the hecticness of the real estate market, we're able to be calm and then ultimately productive. And I feel very grateful for that.
Yeah, I know when I look at my calendar sometimes, and I swear sometimes I'm like Lucille Ball in her show, where it's just like
with the chocolates.
With all the chocolates.
But you would eat a few chocolates. You would eat a few chocolates. I know that.
But my calendar, the juggle I have to do sometimes to slot some of the appointments, and then run and do this and put this in and put that in and put this in, and make sure everything is so that I can be on time for everything as well. And the shenanigans sometimes I have to do in between to make sure that I'm there. It really is. It is a circus of efforts that most people cannot even comprehend what it entails to make, as we've said before, the duck on a pond. We're paddling like hell underneath, but we can make it look smooth on top, like we're gliding across the pond. There is, that means that we're doing the right.
Well, it was
effort.
It was one of our clients that coined this when he was discussing you one time. He goes, "Hey, where's that woman on fire?" And it's the first time I had heard that expression. I'm sure it's out there. And I thought for a second, I go, "Oh my God, she's a woman on fire." Because if anyone were to see the shared Google Calendar, I feel like I should just put things up there just so that I feel productive about myself. Because any given calendar day, there's 20 things loaded. And I'm like, each one of those things is like a full day by itself. What the hell is this person doing? Are you on cocaine and I don't know it? Like, how do you race from thing to thing?
Cocaine of life. Cocaine of wanting to make an impact and not waste anything.
Yeah, no, it's, and I appreciate that. In fact, I'll segue if I can for half a second about the neighborhood council meeting we had last night. For the audience, both Jay and I, when we got into opening up our real estate office after a very lengthy career, a very successful one in the mortgage side of the real estate business, both having broker's licenses, Jay having one for a very long time, allowed us to make this transition into real estate. And we started thinking about how we compared with other realtors. We certainly knew the daily disciplines. We certainly knew the protocols, contractual law, because we'd worked in financing. We were used to hard work and many hours and multiple transactions. I mean, the average lender at that time would do 40-to-1 transactions to every realtor. So we were always getting a myriad of experiences, which was fantastic. But in transitioning, we were like, well, how do we separate ourselves? How do we add back into the place where we want to do business, which is where we live? And so, Jay, you led us in that direction after meeting with one of the outreach members from the neighborhood council, Lisa Waltz, Morocco. And you joined, and you actually became the business chair with her for the business seat, I should say, that represents businesses on Pico and Westwood Boulevards, called it the commercial strip of this area. And so ultimately I followed suit and was able to do that with a residential seat, which when it opened. And that process has put us in a place where we are deeply ingrained with not only the city and the county's plan of action, but also what the stakeholder outreach is all about, what it means to represent people. I think our WNC has a total stakeholder position of roughly 80,000 people between the businesses and the residences. That's a lot of people and a lot of opinion. And we have really complex issues that we're handling. We have things which celebrate community, like the thing that we co-created that you were chairing for so many years, Pick Pico, and hopefully it would transition to Click Pico, and hopefully one day again it'll become the actual physical Pick Pico, a celebration of community and resources and businesses in the area, thinking locally, acting locally, or thinking globally, acting locally. But similarly, like other tough issues, like the budgetary concerns, like what are we going to do with our police force? How do we defund? Is that the right word? Are we talking about reallocation? Do we redeploy? Do we reallocate? These are sophisticated things, and everybody needs to have a voice, and everybody's opinion matters. And that's really the process of the democracy, right? Like everybody share. And I may not agree with the majority's vote all the time, and sometimes I don't. But because we're sworn in to represent them, we have to just vote according to their popular, responses. And we tackled some heady stuff in the last meeting. I mean, we're talking about the people's budget, which was really a fascinating thing that the city council's already adopted a portion thereof, and reallocating some of the LAPD funds and how they train and how they do it. And I did an outreach to our stakeholders here in the Rancho Park neighborhood. I got a huge response. A lot of people acting kind of in a knee-jerk way, a little bit super defensive, like don't take that. I don't feel safe without that. But then there were some real thoughtful replies as well that kind of countered with, yeah, but maybe we can redirect some of these resources. Maybe that's the conversation we need to talk about. Maybe we need to take some of the funds or the training and maybe take officers off of certain routine things that they maybe shouldn't handle. Maybe some of that money can be allocated to officers who only work in the homelessness space. That's all they ever do, and not responding to other crimes or things that they need to be addressing. Or maybe it's social workers, whatever it may be. And these are complex things. And I mention all this because I want people to understand that our level of working is not only real estate related, because contractually we're super sound. Our skill sets in negotiation, honestly, well, how many times have we wrapped up people in negotiations? I mean, Jay, it's a game. You and I laugh about it all the time. We're like, it's to the point where it's literally a playbook, and I could just tell you what's going to happen, and I can almost tell you exactly when it's going to happen. But we work equally in the idea of trying to make the space better for everybody. And that's part of the outreach message now today is, listen, we need to engage as a society. We need to engage in our communities, wherever you may be watching or listening or learning. It's the idea of sharing is caring, and our ability to say, look, if I want change, I see things I don't like, or I want to be part of that architecture. If not me, then who? And that's really kind of a call that I wanted to identify and acknowledge. Thank you for bringing us into that, because it turned out to be a real blessing in our lives and really added enrichment. We walk the talk. And I think that's important to know for the viewership, that's an important value for us. And if we can share any of the information that we're privy to, like we can tell you about development, we can tell you about things like that range from the Santa Monica Airport and its master plan, to the Olympics coming, to the subway that's happening, that'll be ending at UCLA, to whatever the redistricting is going to be, Google project, of course, the homelessness issues. That's really where, as you know, I spent a huge amount of my space and time. I think I laughed about this with the family the other day. I think I shared this with you last week or two, where we sat around and we're saying, hey, if you could have any 5 people in history that you could sit down and have a meal with, and we were going around my family table talking, and my youngest son snarkily said, well, Dad, I think the dad would take 5 homeless people with him. And I was like, well, actually I could think of 1 or 2 homeless people that I know or know of that I might, but it was just kind of where our passion lies, because I want to be able to take our privileges and our resources and move them forward for the betterment of others. I really believe that's a critical step in our society going forward, is listen, there's personal goal and there's attainment and there's achievement and there's success and there's abundance that comes from it. But you know, how much do you need versus how much do you want, and versus how much do others really need? And if I have extra, can I give it to somebody else? That's a mind shift that I try to do. And I try to practice in our real estate all the time. How do we win-win? How does everybody win-win and win?
And that's what I love, is the fact that I read this quote this morning. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away.
I love that one.
And it was an anonymous quote, but our quest from the get-go was, we had a deep understanding of what the meaning of life was, right? And what our gifts were in the world, which is to care, love, give back, and be passionate about what we believe in. And then the purpose of life is to give it away. Give away our ability to help by, give away, help people, really. I mean, give away all the gifts and before we pass away, and keep on giving and giving and impacting. And I look at giving as, giving is impacting others' lives. How are we being of significance in the time that we have? And I look at it seriously. I mean, to have a scare threat of a close friend testing positive, for COVID. And then from there, it's kind of like, how does that impact everything else around us? I mean, it's that close. What if I get it? What if I don't come out the other side? Maybe this is the last deep breath I take. Maybe this is the last intense workout I do. And then what?
Well,
so,
I think
those are some of the thoughts that happen. It is a daily thought process now, right? Of, if I get sick, what happens next? So what am I doing today to not take for granted,
Well, I think you brought up several incredible points. And there's a quote by Goethe that I really, really enjoy. And it's really like, I think I'm gonna see if I can paraphrase it right. It's be resolute in the present hour. Every moment is of infinite value. It's this idea that you just don't know. Is this the last time I'll kiss my wife? Is this the last time I'll hug my children? Is it the last time that I will, to your point, eat something delicious, make love, or celebrate, or whatever it may be? And so each moment, that present moment of now, becomes more and more critical. And this pandemic and global unrest really kind of illuminates it, kind of shakes you to the core and says, oh, okay, where are my principles and where are my real values? What am I taking with me? It was interesting because yesterday, after I left the hot box known as the San Fernando Valley, I came back across and went to a listing appointment in Santa Monica for a townhome. Older gentleman retiring, living in San Luis Obispo area, which is a really beautiful part of the state to live in. And we were talking about it. And he's lived there. He bought the place in 1980 something or another. So he's had it for a very long time. And we were walking through it, and I realized, and he's a highly educated man. He's a professor, former professor at Berkeley, taught musical theory. So he's a bright man, very intellectual. And when we walked through his house, there was this idea. It reminded me of kind of the scene in The Jerk, if you know that film, where Steve Martin has had all the success and all of a sudden he's losing it all. The bank is repossessing it, and he's walking through and he's going, and I need this chair. I need this hairbrush, And so as I'm walking through with the client, he started that process, and we started to unwind it a little bit. And I kind of said to him, I said, hey, Joe, relative to the things that you're taking, some of these I get, they're memories, but those memories are never going to go away. Don't be afraid of that. Make room for more memories, right? And I work that one with my kids all the time. If you've got a full cup, empty it. Because when you can empty that cup, you make room to fill it with something new and something different and vibrant. And you share it with somebody else who needs to have their cup filled. And that's really how we conduct our lives. And that's really how we conduct our lives professionally. And I think that's important to note, that it is putting everyone else forward in our professional acumen and how we care about it. And when you say, like the duck swimming on the water, and it looks easy, it is a tremendous amount of effort, and it may look glamorous because we live big lives. We are committed to doing that. Quite honestly, I feel convicted if I don't. If I don't use those things to the best of my ability to share and care and work for the betterment of others. And we do that. But I will tell you this, it's a lot of work, but anything worth having is a ton of work.
Absolutely. That's right. I mean, and that's the value of understanding that, anything worth having, it does take that intensity of passion and deep work. It really does. And it was great. Like I was telling you the other day, I listened to Gunnar's interview on Tony Blair's podcast, and that deep passion for what he does, and what same thing it conveys to the same thing for us, and then the amount of service, right? The service and care, because they could choose what 350,000 licensed realtors, but to give that level of service so that that customer stays with you over their lifetime, and Gunnar's the same way. He has that service of this is my customer. I'm in a service business. We're in a service business. We provide a level of service, not about us, about them. How can I make your life better? How can I write your story? Because our stories are written, right? We've written our stories. And so how can I write your story of homeownership? Because we both own our home. We've gotten here. We own our businesses. But how can I help you starting out on your first chapter of your home search journey? How can we help you write your book? You know, and so it's a really gratifying industry, I think, when we look at it from a perspective of we have huge significant impact in every single person we interact with. But the work is not easy.
No, the work isn't easy.
To do it right, it is not easy.
Well, Jay, we had that expression for the longest time that a referral was sending someone that you care about to somebody you trust. And we've worked, we've really worked, thank you, and respect. That's a key ingredient to it. And, there's work ethic and there's professionalism. And I guess that's part of this outreach. And when it's sponsored by Heyler Realty, it's important for people to know that even if we don't do the transaction for somebody, we will still give to that formula. We will help them have some peace and understanding, because you never know when that little butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon that it creates a hurricane somewhere else. And if we can make the world... that's one of my favorites. It really is, because that's how the world works. And I think they have an actual name for that term for what that means. I'm going to look that up. So I'll be ready for that for next week. But that's how we impact people in our lives. That's how we are able to produce things. And I think it actually opens up the fountain of abundance. It's literally tapping into the flow of universal energy that says we are good custodians. We know what to do for things. This is not about another indulgent purchase for ourselves. This isn't just about consumption. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy and have wonderful things in your life. It just means if you can do better for others and you put that forward, I think it makes room for more of that to flow down. And we do that in this real estate transaction. So quite honestly, if you know anyone who's thinking of buying, selling, or financing real estate, you do them a favor and just put them in touch with us so we can have this kind of conversation with them. And if nothing else, it helps clarify their thought process and probably make some impact somewhere else down the road, because this is the level of commitment and care that we execute every single day.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I care too much, but how can one care too much about what happens, right?
You internalize it a little too much. It's different, right? And that's because you are so connected. Because actually, we use our intellect, right? That's our talent, the things we've learned. But the source of the engine is the heart. It's the love, and it's the importance. So we charge ourselves with emotional energy so that we can overcome the overwhelming odds. It's daunting. It's a ton of work. How do I face it? Day in and day out, you want to do it with a smile. And the only way you're going to be smiling is if you feel good about yourself. And that's because you've done your homework and you've done the work and you're doing it for all the right reasons.
Yeah, you know what? You're so good. You should have been a therapist in a different life.
Podcast therapist. I don't know what else. Professional food critic. I wouldn't mind being a professional food critic.
Willpower is environment is stronger than willpower. So
yes,
if you're around that, makes it tough,
But, so true.
Well, what a great morning outside of me being frozen for a freaking 20 minutes. That really blew intensely, but it is what it is. Technological reasons happen. And if I had known, like, I could just reboot and still come back on and have enough time, I just didn't know that if you guys would stay connected. I mean, he came from Qatar. So,
he's in Doha, Qatar.
I did not want to lose that airwave connection for you guys, at least. And anyway, so I stayed frozen because I'm a giver, like I am.
Yes, I was going to say there's an act of selfless love, and we got a lesson learned. So we had an act of selfless love and lesson learned. Like, I can reboot back in as the host. It's all
technology. Good. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. It is what it is. But man, it was a great morning. I was really looking forward to it, and it was great. And next Friday is gonna be a great one. We're gonna have our friend Kim O'Hara. We just helped her get into her home, talk about a labor of love.
That's a fabulous story. Actually, I'm looking forward to sharing that a ton and hearing her. She's the book coach, right? Doesn't she help people write books?
She helped me write my book, and we're gonna finish it. I gotta just get back to finishing it. But she's amazing and really talented. She also has a great podcast with some really great guests, but her podcasts are fantastic stories as well. And looking forward to unearthing that next week. So, hey, let's put all this activity into forward momentum and keeping them going, because there is a hurricane of appointments today, tomorrow, and Sunday. So it's gonna be
that's
a busy
for sure.
weekend.
It will be. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Keep cool, everyone. Hydrate. It's supposed to be a hot one in Southern California.
Yeah, we just divide and conquer.
Take care of one another. Do your best for others, and reach out to us. We're here for you anytime you need us.
Yay.
All right, Jay. Take care. Thank you.